Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're diving into something new, a technology called the Chronicle Engine. And it's built on a pretty radical idea. What if our most important institutions, banks, governments, what if they could run without having to trust anyone at all? Let's get into how that's even possible.
When you think about the systems that run our world, all the government agencies, the big financial institutions, even relief organizations, they all operate on this kind of hidden foundation. It's this one unspoken agreement that lets them all function. And that agreement, it's built on just one simple principle.
That's it. Trust. We trust that people are going to follow the rules. We trust that the money is going to end up where it's supposed to. We trust the records are accurate. And you know what? For the most part, it works. But trust has a fundamental weakness.
Yeah? What happens when someone decides to just break the rules, or misuse their power, or change the records? Suddenly, the whole system is vulnerable, and the fallout can be, disastrous. This right here is the core problem the Chronicle Engine was designed to solve. So, let's get specific. What exactly are the failure points in a system that's running purely on trust? Where does it all fall apart?
Well, these problems are probably going to sound familiar. You've got insider abuse. That's the person with the keys who decides to, walk out with everything. You have discretionary overrides, where a boss just decides to ignore a rule because they can. And then there's the classic after-the-fact audit, which, let's be honest, is like trying to figure out where the money went long after the vault's been emptied. It's all reactive. And that shield of trust, it's pretty easy to break.
Okay, so if trust is the problem, what's the alternative? And that brings us to the Chronicle Engine itself.
Now, this is a really powerful idea. Instead of just trusting the system to behave, what if you could mathematically prove it? What if the system could spit out an unbreakable digital receipt for every single action, proving it was legal, proving it was authorized? That's the goal here, swapping out fragile trust for hard, verifiable proof.
The source material calls this a constitutional execution engine. And that's a fascinating concept. Think about it like this. The rules aren't just suggestions written down on a piece of paper somewhere. They are literally baked into the system's environment, kind of like the laws of physics. So in this world, trying to do something illegal is like trying to ignore gravity. It's just not possible.
And here we have the formal definition. So let's break that down, right? Sovereign means it has the final say, the ultimate authority. The part about governs lawful action means it checks the rules before anything is allowed to happen. And that immutable chronicle, that's just a fancy way of saying a perfect, unchangeable record of everything that legally happened.
Okay, this next part is the single most important concept behind the whole engine. It's a fundamental shift in how we think about rules and how we enforce them.
So, here it is, the crucial point. Our current systems, they're all built to catch rule breakers after the damage is done. The Chronicle Engine is built to prevent the rules from ever being broken in the first place. It's a total shift from being reactive to being proactive.
Right, so the old way is like the police showing up to investigate a robbery. It's too late, the damage is done. The new way is like a bank vault that physically cannot be opened without the right key. The crime is prevented before it can even start. Okay, so making illegal actions impossible sounds amazing, but how does it actually work? Let's take a quick look under the hood at the 5 core pieces that make this whole thing possible.
So the engine is basically made of 5 core parts. First, you have the authority engine, which is kind of like the bouncer at a club. It decides who is allowed to act. Next, the lifecycle engine is the official rulebook. It makes sure you follow all the steps in the exact right order. Then you've got the emission engine, which acts like a super smart vault, controlling the release of any resource. And all of these are checked by the runtime validator, the ultimate gatekeeper that enforces every single rule before an action can proceed. And finally, anything that gets the green light is recorded in the immutable ledger, a perfect, permanent record.
Now, this all sounds incredibly powerful, but it's not for running your email server. This is really specialized technology meant for some very specific situations. So where do you really need a system like this? I mean, where are the stakes so incredibly high that you absolutely cannot afford for someone to just bend the rules?
It's really designed for what the source calls high-trust environments, which is kind of ironic, right? Because they're the places where trust tends to fail most spectacularly. Think about something like disaster relief funds. You want to know with 100% certainty that the money is going to the victims, not into some random person's pocket. Or think about public appropriations, managing taxpayer money. These are the kinds of processes where the law has to override human discretion.
All right, let's bring this all home. What is the fundamental promise, the core guarantee that the Chronicle engine is making?
This table here really sums it all up perfectly. We're making a move from trust-based to proof-based, from just logging what happened to enforcing what's allowed, from messy investigations to simple verification, and from a history that can be changed or even lost to a permanent, unchangeable chronicle.
And this is the official product guarantee. It's a really bold statement. It's saying that once the rules are locked in, the system itself guarantees that nothing can ever happen outside of those rules. Not by accident, not on purpose, not by anyone.
Which leaves us with a final thought. We've spent basically all of human history building systems on trust, and then building even more complex systems to deal with what happens when that trust is broken. But what if we could build our most critical institutions on a foundation of mathematical proof instead? What could a world built on proof actually look like?